This last video is going to show you how to troubleshoot the most common issues with having a wireless connection from an iPad to a computer. I can't reiterate how important it is to play with the software ahead of the session, make sure that you're comfortable with it, check the connections in the room that you're planning to use, and allow plenty of setup time. Running in at 12 for 12 p.m. conference and then having trouble with your network just makes you look bad and is irritating to the students. The most common issue is that the iPad and the computer are not on the same Wi-Fi network, so this is the first thing you should check. Sometimes if there isn't a great signal and you have 3G on your iPad, it's going in and out of wireless and 3G, so in this case turn off 3G on your iPad. If it's not connecting and yet they are both on the same Wi-Fi network, then what I do first of all is reboot the laptop. You may want to also hard reboot your iPad. If you don't need to know how to do this, you hold the on-off button and the home button at the same time until the Apple icon appears, and it will then reboot. This often just sorts the problem out. I would highly recommend that for any presentation you're planning to use wireless, you have Plan B, and if necessary C and D, available to change to, because some Wi-Fi networks have security settings that block these various types of connections, including AirPlay that we've been talking about. Here's one Plan B you might want to think about. You can use your iPhone as a hotspot, so it's effectively operating as a wireless network. It does use your 3G data plan, so it's something you might not want to do if you're doing this abroad or you have a limited data plan. But for most intents and purposes, it's fine. If you don't know how to do this, if you go to Settings on your iPhone, you select Personal Hotspot, you then activate it, and you put a password in, which you will then use on both your computer and on your iPad, so they're using the same Wi-Fi network. This works in the majority of cases, providing you have an adequate 3G signal on your iPhone to make this work. Another alternative is you can set up your own little local network using one of these mobile routers. These weigh about £1. There's a whole variety of them you can buy. They cost about $35 upwards. I'm just showing one here by Hutu that also acts as a large capacity external charger for devices. These are worth thinking about if you tend to travel a lot and give presentations in a lot of different places with very variable Wi-Fi setups. What these do is they put out their own little Wi-Fi network, which you then connect to with all of your devices. You just look for the name of the Wi-Fi network that they've set up within the choices. If you want, these external routers can connect via their Ethernet port to the internet. If you don't need to access the internet externally during your presentation, then you don't have to worry about that anyway. You can use one of the hardware dongles. You won't be able to get away from behind the podium, but you will be able to present via your iPad and annotate the images or the slides as we discussed previously. And of course, if all else fails, you can always do it the old-fashioned way and just show your slides on the laptop. But decide how long you're going to struggle with these issues. This is why you need to get there before, make sure everything works. Just trying one or two other methods is fine. Sitting there for 15 minutes, fiddling around with it is probably not going to be advantageous to your talk, and the attendees are going to get kind of crabby about it. So just resort to PowerPoint regularly in that case. I'm just going to put a couple of options out there for the more adventurous. If you're less adventurous, you might want to stop at this point in the movie. You can set up something called an ad hoc network, and what this is either your PC or your Mac acting as a local network, so you're avoiding using the local Wi-Fi whatsoever. So if you have no 3G signal, or you don't have the ability to hotspot off your iPhone and there's no Wi-Fi, or you can't get it to connect to the Wi-Fi, you can do this. And all this is a pure computer-to-computer connection. So when you do this, you will not have external access to the internet if you need it for your presentation. I'm going to show you where this is in a Mac. The instructions for PC are a little bit more complicated and they vary depending on the operating system, so I suggest you just Google it. But on the Mac, it's pretty easy. You go under Wi-Fi here on your top toolbar, and you'll see there is one option which says Create Network. When you click on that, you will come up with this window here, and all you have to do is click Create. If you then go to the Wi-Fi settings on your iPad, scroll down through the below where it gives you the option of the different networks, and you will see something that says devices, and it will show you the device there and you connect to it. And as I say, this really does work very well. Just remember to disengage this afterwards when you're finished with your presentation by going back to your laptop and making sure you go back on the regular Wi-Fi network. If you remember right at the beginning of the first talk, we talked about apps that allow you to broadcast to the web and then pick up in a browser the results of that broadcast to your laptop, such that anything that you are displaying in these particular apps on your iPad will then be seen in a browser on your computer and hence then be displayed via the projector and through that usual hardwired connection. One of these apps is Two Screens. They confusingly use something called AirShow. There are way too many things called Air that relate to the iPad. To do this, you need to go into the Tools menu, which is the right-hand side. In Two Screens, you then select AirShow here, and it will come up with a web address, an HTTP address, and you put that into the browser on your laptop. You can also send it to yourself, so you can just click on it. When you then go to that address, it will then show whatever you're doing on your iPad, including the annotations that you're doing in Two Screens. Note, this is very specific to Two Screens. All browsers have a full screen mode. The instructions for that vary from browser to browser, and so you can just display the image and not this stuff up here on the taskbar. If you're using something like SlideShark, which is the other app that I know you can do this with, in this case the option is called Broadcasting, and it works very similar to Two Screens. You select Broadcasting, select here, and it will come up again with an address that you use, and you can just start broadcasting. Again, this is the address here that you would go to, or any of your other attendees could go to, and they can actually see this remotely. For more instructions on both Two Screens using AirShow and broadcasting on SlideShark, I would suggest you look at the help files on those respective sites. Well, hopefully this video has helped you sort out some of the more challenging issues of connecting using an iPad. And it honestly works the majority of the time, but as I said before, check it out in the room you're using, go early, make sure everything's talking to everything else before you start.